at the Alpha House. Super excited to be coming to you live today from Wamunyoro, the residence. And of course, on this, we are collaborating. We are not alone. I have none other than the Mraya himself.
Africa, Iko Nini.
Bas. And with us, obviously, being in Wamunyoro, you know what we have. Africa, introduce our guest.
Yeah, so vile unacheki leo tuko na Rigiji, tuko na Rigathi Gachagua. And vile si wanzaga jo, Iko Nini.
Iko Nini.
Yeah. Iko Nini.
So yeah, I'm hoping we can have a conversation on various things.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I have to first of all congratulate you. Like, you have a very beautiful home.
Well,
Yeah.
this is my safe haven, my rural home. I was born and brought up here. The air is fresh. You are next to the Mount Kenya forest. The mountain is just, you have a beautiful view from here.
Yeah.
Good people around me here. This is where I find my sanity. Anytime I come here, I don't want to go away.
Yeah.
I dread going back to the capital city.
Yes.
I want to stay here because it's quiet. It's nice. People are nice. It's friendly, fresh air.
Yeah.
So welcome to Wamunyoro. And I hope you enjoy your stay here.
When you say you grew up here, what do you mean? Like this is your family's farm or just the area itself?
This is my farm bequeathed to me by my late parents. My parents had two farms, one 7 kilometers away from here, and this one here. So in their old age, they were very organized people. They gave two brothers here, myself and the lead Dr. Wachira. We were given 6 acres here, 3 acres each.
Yes.
And the other farm were given to my other two brothers. So we came here in 1972 when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
I've been here all my life. This is where I belong. And when my days come, I'll be buried here.
Very interesting. Okay, so it's good that you've told us this is where you were brought up and where you grew. Just to understand your journey into politics to becoming the DCP party leader today. Did it start here, or what was that journey like?
Well, my family, the late Nation Gachagua and the late Mother Kirigo, were politicians in their own right. They were leaders in their own right. They took part in the Mau Mau liberation struggle, fighting for our land and freedom. So I am the child of my father and my father. We are basically freedom fighters. We are leaders, and we have grown in a political family. And my late brother, the late Iko Gachagua, was a member of parliament for this constituency called Matera. He later became the governor of Nyeri before he passed on. I started here as MP for Matera. I later became the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Today, I'm the DCP leader. I'm the next president of the Republic of Kenya next year.
Okay. So I have to go back to the family thing. So you grew up with like a family of four brothers, or you have a sister?
No, we had a great family. My father was polygamous. His first wife, the late Nyagodhi, had
Welcome to MKIDDI Studios.
4 kids. My mother had 9 kids.
Okay.
I'm the 8th born in a family of 9.
Okay.
So we were 13. We have lost many of us, quite a number. From my family, my mother's family, we've lost the late Dr. Wachira and Ridiani, and we are remaining myself from the sons.
Yes.
And 5 daughters.
Okay.
The other family, 2 are dead, 2 are surviving. So we are there, and we thank God for long life. And we love one another. We are a great family. Okay. We are very united and very cohesive.
So when you talk of them being politicians and them being involved in the struggle, like, could you maybe elaborate on that? Because this is to connect with your start as a DO, started out as a DO. So what's the connection?
Well, when I came from the University of Nairobi in 1988, I was a student of political science. I sought for a job. Those days it was good. It's not like now. Once you got admission to the university, your life was sorted.
Yes.
Indeed, I remember once our mother educated you up to Form 6 and you passed, you'll never see her again. The next time you saw her, she was asking for money because it was automatic.
Yeah.
In fact, employers would come to the university to recruit people into employment.
Yeah.
So when I left the university in 1988, because I had studied political science and I had a political mind, I sought for a job as a district officer. That is public administration. And I went to the Public Service Commission and I got the job. And I went to the Kenya Institute of Administration, KIA, which today is called the Kenya School of Government. That's where I did my induction. And I started my job as a young officer at the Ministry of Home Affairs as an assistant secretary to the late Davidson Koguru, who was the Minister for Home Affairs. Later on, I was posted as a district officer to Kirinyaga, Kishogo. I stayed there for several years. Later on, I was recalled to the office of the president. I became a personal assistant to the head of public service, secretary to the cabinet, Prophet Beach, vice chancellor when I was a student at the university. I worked with him until 1993. I went back to the field. I served in Kiambu. I served in Laikipia. I served in Garissa. I served in Turkana. I served in all manner of places. And years later, I became a personal assistant to President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was the Minister for Local Government and Kanu presidential candidate. And I worked under President Uhuru Kenyatta. And when we lost the elections in 2003, I continued serving him until the year 2006. That is when I requested him that I would like to go to business. I went to business from the year 2006. But I continued helping him through until he became president in 2013. I never went back to government. I stayed as a businessman until 2017, when my late brother Gachagua passed on in February 24th, 2017. The people of this area, because they loved his leadership, and I was part of his campaign and his leadership, improved upon me to contest the Mathira parliamentary seat, which I did at a Jubilee ticket and won handsomely. I got 54,000 votes against 28,000. And I went to parliament for 5 years. There in parliament, I started working with William Ruto. We developed a good rapport. I helped him the campaign until we won. And he picked me as his running mate. And the people here, accepted. They gave us a vote and I became deputy president. I served for 2 years. We fell out. And he got MPs and senators and coerced them and intimidated them, bribed them to throw me out of office. They did. I left gracefully. I came here and dusted myself and woke up and started reorganizing my politics and my leadership. I founded the DCP party, which I'm leading today, and is a vehicle through which I want to seek the presidency.
Okay. Before you've mentioned your fallout with the president. Tell us what caused the fallout.
Yeah. The two of us are totally different. I'm a very truthful man. I'm a very honest man. And I thought he was like me. And I must say, he's a very good actor. He deceived me and deceived all of us. And we thought he's a great Christian. He would be in church every Sunday. He would quote the Bible. He would talk to us with a lot of, conviction. And I swallowed a bit, and I believed he was the best man for the job. But once we got to the office, he came out as in true colors, as a dictator, as a businessman, as a ruthless politician, as a man who cannot keep his word, too many promises, too many lies. And we started having differences quite big because I am not that way. And the people I had persuaded to vote for him started asking me very serious questions, and I couldn't have answers. So I started disagreeing with him on many things within government. With a lot of respect, I would go to him and say, boss, this is not right. Evictions and demolitions. When we were campaigning, we told our people there will be no evictions and demolitions. And if they have to happen, they have to be human. And we have to know where somebody will move before you remove him from where he or she stays. We agreed there will be no night demolitions. And these things started happening, and I had a big problem. Along the way, we abandoned what we had promised the people. We had come in with a promise of the bottom-up economic transformation. lifting people from bottom to up. But as soon as we got into office, we started overtaxing people. We started using taxes on luxury, on things that are not necessary. And the people started to cry. And because I'm somebody who listens to people, they would come to me, I would go to him, and he would dismiss me with contempt. And we couldn't have a good working rapport. But our real issues came during the finance bill of 2024.
Before we reach there, could I ask you one thing? I covered the elections just before 2022.
Yes.
And I remember one of the videos that I did, because I always do reaction videos, was a reaction video of no Rigathi, no Ruto. And from that, what I got from that video was you are not his first choice for DP, Deputy President. The first choice was Kindiki. And apart from that, I remember, I think it was last week, Moses Kuria was on KTN and he said the same thing, that you are not Ruto's first choice. Ruto was arm twisted into it. And with that, the relationship started on shaky ground because he felt like at that moment he needed you because he needed the mountain. But you see, you're not his first choice.
No, it's true.
So, yeah. So,
looking back, I think so. One thing is that he had promised the running mate position to so many people. He's a very deceptive character, just like he has done today. Today, he has promised Kindiki, he has promised Joho, he has promised Wanga, he has promised GK Karaoke, he has promised more than 10 characters. Even that time, he had promised so many people. And he had promised me. He had promised Kindiki, he had promised Anwar Guru, he had promised Alice Wahome, he had promised Dende Nyoro, he had promised Justin Muturi, he had promised Musalia, he had promised Wetangula. And he was just playing around with us. I don't think I was his first choice. But I think being a very pragmatic politician and practical, he looked at the whole configuration and he was very clear in his mind that if he picked Dick, he would have lost the election. So it was convenient to pick Rigathi Gachagua and dump him later. In fact, I think the decision to remove me was made even before I was picked. I am totally convinced today that I was just a lander.
And you didn't see it coming?
I didn't see it coming. I'm a very honest person. And I'm a person who believes and trusts other people. Because myself, I'm very trusting and I'm a very dependable character. So I really felt we were together. But looking back, I can see that he didn't want me. He wanted a Rigathi running mate and a Kindiki deputy president. A Rigathi deputy president is not good for him because Rigathi has a mind and he's a very principled character. And I'm also a strong man like him. And I don't think he wanted that. So during that time, we had that issue. I went and said that he told me to get prepared and got his communication person, Hussein Mohammed, to help me to draft acceptance speech. And he asked me to come with my wife.
That's what I'm asking. Don't you feel like he felt I'm twisted?
No,
Because I remember
yeah.
that time when we were covering it, everything was pointing at Kindiki. And then even by the time you're being announced, it's like 2 a.m.
No, he knew what he needed.
It was like at 2 a.m. So
He
no Rigathi, no Ruto protests
No, far from
must
it.
have pushed him.
Far from
protests.
Far from it. He
Why
knew
not?
what he wanted. He wanted the Rigathi. He was just managing the others because he had promised everybody.
So the protest came from who?
Our people were protesting. But he had promised everybody. He was just managing the others. He had already called me and told me it's you. And asked his people to help me have an acceptance speech. Told me, come with your wife and your children. And I came in a suit. All the others did not come with suits because he had not told them. And then he pretended to consult everybody and kept it long so that all the people he had conned can feel that he has tried, but he has been twisted. But he knew, he was clear in his mind. He has done his arithmetic. He knew my persuasive power. He knew my mobilization skills. He knew I had the ear of the people. And he knew for him to get the mountain vote, he needed Rigathi Gachagua. So he created an impasse, an artificial one, just to manage the other people. But he kept on telling me, don't worry, I'm managing it. Yeah, but we watch it too. Please give me time. He kept on doing that. My supporters were getting very wary. Yeah, because they could see there is deception. But he was just managing the others. He had already made up his mind that the running mate would be Rigathi Gachagua for him to be president. Equally, looking back, he had decided he would either drop Rigathi Gachagua before 2027, just before, or in between. And I think what happened, his game was to drop Rigathi Gachagua during the second term. But halfway, he realized Rigathi Gachagua had become very influential. And he realized that if he lets him stay, by 2027, it's not possible to drop him. But it is the exact opposite. My being removed have made me 20 times popular than I was. Today, I enjoy the kind of popularity any politician would love in his life, And when he was removing from office, he was told by Chongo and others, you remove this guy, crown ikitolewa ni mabati. This guy is only popular because he has a position. The people of the mountain are not interested in people. They are interested in positions. Once you get rid of him, that's it. 2-3 weeks, you'll never hear about him. But he didn't know the mountain because he's not one of us. And I told him, the people of the mountain hate betrayal. Betrayal has no remedy in the mountain. It's punished unapologetically. And even him, and he knows, he was a beneficiary of the community's distaste for betrayal. When the people of the mountain felt like Uhuru Kenyatta had betrayed him, they decided to punish Uhuru Kenyatta for betraying William Ruto and elect William Ruto as president. And I told him that time when we were just arguing, when I saw where he's going, I advised him. I said, my brother, I think you are making a mistake of your life. These mountain people hate betrayal. You are a beneficiary of the community's distaste for betrayal, and you are not one of them. They have punished one of their own to affirm you, and you are not one of their own. If you betray their own and you are not one of their own, they will punish you 100 times. What I told him has come to pass. Today, I was seeing meetings in Thika. His allies would not speak. None. Not Ichungwa, not Alice Nganga, not Moratha. None could be allowed to say anything. And what he doesn't know, those people have nothing against Ichungwa. They have nothing against Alice Nganga, nothing against Moratha. They were sending a message to him. But because he's president and our people respect authority, they don't shout him down. They shout his allies down, but they are sending a message to him. We are through with you. You betrayed the mountain. Nobody betrays the mountain and gets away with it. Okay. So let me once more say that was his script. And I saw it later on when the first 1 year is when I started seeing signs that I had been betrayed, I was unwanted, and I would be shafted. But I put my foot down. I did what I needed to do. The rest is history.
So do you and the president hate each other?
I don't hate anybody myself, but I hate his actions. Abductions and extrajudicial killings, I hate because I'm a Christian. The 10 Commandments tells us, thou shalt not kill. I was very bitter with abductions and extrajudicial killings, and that is what made us disagree completely. And that is when he decided I must leave. So do you remember when the finance bill came, I told him this thing is unacceptable, and the people of Kenya will not take it. And if you insist, there will be rejection, and we shall be left with an egg on our face. Please don't force it. He decided to force it. When it was forced, people said no. And then the agencies came up with a protest. Then in the National Security Council, a decision was made, and I sat there to clamp them down. And I said, no, I disagree with that decision. I said, let's listen to these young people. They have a point. And what they are saying is what the whole country is saying. He said, no. So on June 25th, when the kids were massacred in Parliament, he called a press conference at night and said that these kids are criminals and they are treasoners, and he'll crush them. Still being in office, I went to Mombasa and called a counter press conference, and I told him off. I said, you can't kill these people. They have a right to say what they are saying, and these kids are not criminals. They are my sons and daughters. we should listen to them. That is what broke the camel's back. We never talked again. We would talk through SMS, through WhatsApp messages, because he felt it was total insubordination and he felt I had ridiculed him publicly. But I needed to give my position to our young people and the Kenyan people that I was not part and parcel of abductions and killing children. I could not be party to it, and I had to disown it publicly, because if I didn't disown it publicly, today I'll be carrying that burden. My hands will be full with blood of the Gensis. I'm very happy that I was vindicated. I talked, everybody heard me. Today, nobody can blame me for those killings.
Okay, but I'd ask, like, when did you start becoming uncomfortable with the extrajudicial killings? Like, do you know a specific period?
Yeah. I think I think around April 2024.
Because the reason why I'm asking you that is Ruto's acceptance speech talked about extrajudicial
Yes, he
killings.
did.
And he talked about the extrajudicial killings under Uhuru.
He did.
So that means that these extrajudicial killings were happening. Remember? So he said that this new government is going to come and there's not going to be extrajudicial. Then in 2023, remember there were protests, mostly in Kisumu and what? There were a lot of extrajudicial killings. Those are the people who got compensation this week from the courts. So do you understand why when you say you are against extrajudicial killings, it does not make sense to the average Kenyan? Because you're like, that was happening.
No.
It did start in 2024.
William Ruto and I were on the same page initially. We had promised the people of Kenya that extrajudicial killings will be a thing of the past, and the use of the criminal justice system to settle politics will never happen. Yes. And that is why it was in his inauguration speech. We were on the same page. As soon as we got into office, I started seeing this bad habit creeping back. And I told him, respectively, in private, boss, these are the things we promised, and things are getting out of hand. Please, let us not go into that direction. He didn't listen. So as we went on in early 2024, I started getting reports and concerns that a special squad of 101 people had been formed for the purposes of abductions and extrajudicial killings. And I told him no. So one day, the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya then, the Honorable Justin Bidad Muturi, came to see me as Deputy President. William Ruto was out of town. And he told me, my brother, my own child has been abducted. I have tried to call the IG. He is taking me into circles. I have called the DCI. He is taking me around. I have talked to the PS Interior. He's just taking him into circles. I have talked to the Director General of National Intelligence Service. He's not telling me anything. I have talked to Kindiki, who is a CS Interior. He's just lying to me. I am very unhappy. And I've come to complain to you as Deputy President.
This is 2024, yes?
2024.
Yes, because the reason I'm asking is 2023. In 2023, I don't know if you remember, but there was this even headline that Rigathi Gachagua is planning mayhem against protesters. That's Raila who said that. So this was around the 26th of March, 2023. There's a statement I remember you made where
that was an accusation.
Do you expect? No, you asked, like, do you expect the police to kiss the protesters?
No. Yeah? That was an accusation.
But you understand what that means? It means that when you're in government, you didn't have a problem with, because a lot of protesters were killed.
I had a big problem. I am a very strong believer in the rule of law. And stopping protests is one thing. Killing is another. I don't believe in killing. Protesters can be dispersed using necessary force, which is allowed by law. As Deputy President, you are not in charge of security. The security architecture of this country. The President is the chairman of the National Security Council. Deputy President sits there as a member. All the security agencies, the IG, the DCI, the Director of National Intelligence Service, the Director of Military Intelligence, the service commanders in the Army, Air Force, and Navy are appointees of the President. And it is him who gives directions. The Deputy President can only intervene in security matters if given specific duties and instructions by the President. Those duties were never given to me at any one time. And I was a very great defender of the President in the first 1 year because I believed in him. And Raila and others felt that I was very strong. So they were in the habit of blaming me for anything that is going wrong. But going forward, as I've told you, when the AG came to complain to me, I told him to take up the matter with the president. And I monitored for him. And as soon as the president was back in the city, I told the AG, go and see him. She went and faced him, and his son was released. And from there, I went and told him this is wrong. So that by the time we were getting to June 25th, myself and the president were not on the same page in matters abductions and extrajudicial killings. And my public statement on June 26th in Mombasa is on record that I'm not opposing extrajudicial killings because I'm out of government. I opposed when I was deputy president in office. And I was removed from office 4 months later. And this is one of the things that accelerated my removal. That is one of the things that made my relationship with the president very sore.
Okay, so during the same maandamano of 2024, unfortunately, there are people who attacked former President Uhuru Kenyatta's farm, and there were accusations that you were involved in that. Was it true? And if not, then who would you say was in charge? Because the people accusing you are people you sat with.
It is not true because I never uttered anything to that effect. If you check, internet does not forget. The majority leader in the National Assembly, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, told Uhuru Kenyatta, is on video, that kama wewe hapana simamisha kutoa pesa ya kupanga maandamano, tutavamia hiyo mashamba yako na tuyachukue. 3 weeks down the later, mashamba ikavamiwa. Where do you blame Rigathi Gachagua? Did Rigathi Gachagua make any such utterance? I didn't. I am a very responsible leader, and I am a protector of property. I don't destroy property because I look for property. I'm a builder. I believe in building. I don't believe in destruction. Uhuru Kenyatta was president of the Republic of Kenya. He retired. And once our politics were over, I let him be. And I never attacked him. In fact, I went ahead to apologize to him for utterances that I made during the campaign period, because I found those utterances to a great extent were necessary and were too offensive. And since the campaign period was over, I did what a responsible leader does, and an elder for that matter. Uhuru Kenyatta is a senior elder in my community. I'm a junior elder in the community. And I felt that I had uttered words that were injurious to him and quite, disturbing to him and his family. And I offered a public apology. When I was deputy president, I did not do it when I left office. I could not plan or have any reason whatsoever to attack the farms of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But Kimani Ichung'wah is on record threatening to invade the farms of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And 3 weeks after, in fact, that accusation he made at Kenyaga High School, where I had invited him as an old boy, that is where he uttered the threats. And 3 weeks later, the farms were attacked. Kimani Ichung'wah is very close to President William Ruto. So your guess is as good as mine as to who could have authorized for the attack or the farm of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
So are you guys in good terms with former president? Because earlier in the week, we also saw the deputy party leader of his party, Jubilee, coming to see you. And is there a handshake that's coming between you and the former president?
Uhuru Kenyatta and I are brothers. He's my older brother. For your information, I served as personal assistant of President Uhuru Kenyatta for 7 years. I believed in him and his leadership long before other Kenyans believed in his leadership. We have been brothers. He has come to this home. I've been to his home. Our children are friends. Me and President Kenyatta are brothers. But along the way in politics, when I decided to support William Ruto against his wish, we differed politically. And it was very acrimonious, as it goes in politics. But after we won and Raila Odinga lost, that was over. It is me who made the first step. I took it. I took the very courageous step to apologize to President Uhuru Kenyatta for whatever I could have said that offended him. And it was forgiven. And I have no issue with President Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact, I'm shocked people keep on saying that we need to do a handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Handshake for what? We are brothers. We are easy. And the issue of family, you cannot keep on asking, are you in good books with your brother? We are brothers. And we have had long political history. And today, Uhuru Kenyatta is retired. I'm his greatest defender. If you have followed our news, anytime he is attacked, I defend him because I believe he is a Kenyan statesman who did 10 good years, served his country well with the dedication. He has taken retirement, and I am of the opinion that we need to let him retire in peace and enjoy his retirement with his children and his grandchildren. That's what I sincerely believe.
Sorry, I have to take you back. There's something I had to check very fast. When you talk of JB Mturi's son being abducted, you said he came to you, JB Mturi. Why didn't he go to Ruto?
I'm saying JB Mturi did the right thing. He first talked to the DCI.
Yes.
He took him in circles. He talked to the IG. He took him in circles. He talked to the DG NIS. He took him in circles.
Yes.
He talked to the PS. He took him in circles. He talked to Kindiki. So he was just following the chain of command. Then he came to me. Because that's normally the way you do these things. You don't just go to the president directly. You talk to the people who work for him. And he came to me as deputy president to tell me his concern. And when I listened to what he was saying, and being private to what was going on, because I had known as code had been formed, I told him the buck stops with the president because he's the one who authorized the formation of that union. So I said, face the guy head on. And when he faced him head on, sure as December 25 is Christmas, the president made one call because he knew whom to call. He called the DGDs, and Muturi's son was released. So
okay,
because I think the best advice.
I think I'd misunderstood you because it's like you'd said you told him you'd tell his back because I was checking that and I saw Ruto.
No, Ruto was out of town.
No, this one says Ruto was in Kenya when the
out of town. I said out of town. I didn't say out of the country. He was out of town. Yeah. He was not in Nairobi. He had gone to some place up country. And my security and Ruto's security is one. They are under the presidential escort. So I'm quite aware of his movement. So I told him I'll monitor. As soon as he comes back, I'll let you know. So I told my security, let me know when the president is headed to State House. So when he took off from where he was, my people told me he has taken off. He'll take 35 minutes. So I called JB. I said, in 40 minutes, be at State House. He'll be there. And he went and found him.
Because another thing that's been said is if you had to look at what's his name, Ruto used to have, and I've heard some of your political partners right now talk about his anger issues, where he was angry at some point, threatened to slap Uhuru. But also for you, the stories that we had were when the rift started happening between you and him, you'd bang his table and you'd be disrespectful. Understand? So there was the story of you'd be disrespectful. I think the figure was you wanted 4,000 shillings for every voter from the mountain. And you demanded that. And that's how, and then you have, like, when I spoke with Itumbi, and Itumbi was saying that you are petty. Like, you even used to fight with them as junior staff.
I don't want to discuss Itumbi. That's a very junior blogger.
Yes, but I'm just saying.
I cannot discuss Itumbi.
Yes.
I think it's disrespectful to even ask me to discuss Itumbi.
But no, he's the one.
My friend, I'm a presidential candidate.
Yes.
I can only talk about William Ruto, my competitor.
Okay.
I think it is not appropriate to ask me to talk about State House
Okay, let's talk about Itumbi. No, let's talk about Ruto. So with that, do you feel like if you went to him and demanded things based on you having given him votes, don't you feel that was disrespectful? And that's the reason why
I don't think to start with
he needed to get rid of you. And also the fact that you remember you're saying that you felt like he always wanted to get rid of you. So there must have been something he didn't like about you.
Well, to start with, it's a lie.
Yeah.
I did not ask him for any money. And if I did, it should have been one of the grounds of my impeachment. It wasn't, because it's not true. It's just a lie. The guy is a liar. He has given so many reasons why he got rid of me, depending on where he is. When he goes to Nyanza, he says I was demanding shares for the mountain to the exclusion of the Luo nation. Okay. When he goes to Western, he says I was opposing development for the Luyas to the benefit of the mountain. When he comes to the mountain, he says I was demanding money from him. That is why he got rid of me. He has so many different reasons that he keeps on giving. And if those reasons were true, I believe they would have been among the charges in the impeachment. They were not. Yeah. Nobody demanded a cent from him, and I had no reason to demand a cent from him. I disagreed with him on matters of principle. And it was extrajudicial killings, abductions, theft of public resources, tribalism, nepotism, running a one-man show government and not giving anybody else a chance to contribute to the management of the affairs of the country. Yet you are elected. You know me, I was not an appointee like Ndiki. I was elected by the people. I was not his employee. And he's not the one who gave me the job. He proposed my name and the people of the Kenya gave me the job. I had a responsibility to the people of Kenya. And I found we are losing it. And today, my friend, William Ruto was elected on a very popular platform. 3 years down the line, everybody is saying he must go. And that is the issue I was raising with him. How come that we came in on a popular mandate? Everybody is baying for our blood. Let us retrace our steps. Let us listen to the people.
But the tribalism part, he's always used it against you, even like with some of the speeches he's having. But you see how that he can. You remember there was a clip also of Methu, where Methu was saying, "Angalia jina, ukiona Kipruto, uneka tik. Ukiona Mwangi, uneka tik. Ukiona Onyango, hey. Then he was saying, and then you talked about shareholders. So don't you feel like if we were to talk about one person who was tribal, we can't put that on Ruto. We'd have to put it on you because you're the one who talked
it's
about
nothing like
shareholders.
Let me tell you, my brother, it's nothing like tribalism in coalition building. Ruto was a product of the Rift Valley and the mountain. People of Northeastern rejected him. People of Coast rejected him. People of Western Kenya rejected him. People of Nyanza rejected him. People of Nairobi rejected him. He was elected by the people of the Rift Valley and the mountain. And therefore, we had an agreement on how we'll share government. And when he started shortchanging me, I was saying, no, give me what right belongs to me and my people, because we had an agreement. He had a shareholding agreement with the people of Western Kenya. And he did not honor, because he also did not honor. They had promised to give him 70% of their votes. And in return, he had promised so many things. So when they did not honor, he refused to honor. But on my part, we honored what we had agreed. He had asked for 70% of our vote. He got 87%. So I was entitled to get what we had agreed.
What did you want specifically?
No, we had agreed many things. Positions, guaranteed minimum return for our cash crops, coffee, tea, and milk. We had agreed the completion of our roads. We had agreed on construction of 18 dams in the mountain. We had agreed that the people of the mountain will not be sacked, even those appointed by Uhuru Kenyatta. And where he felt uncomfortable with those who had been picked by Uhuru Kenyatta, we will change them one for one. And that's what we did in Meru. When he said he doesn't want Kenoti, we exchanged with the Kome. And it was like that until the second year, he started backtracking on those agreements. And then I started fighting.
Do you think that is fair for other people in the country? Because I understand it's a coalition, but in a country where we have 44 tribes, is that a fair way of doing politics?
You know, my dear Sarah, politics is a game of interest.
That's true.
Today, ODM are demanding 50% of government. And nobody is calling them tribal. Nobody is saying that they are what we are shares. Those ODM characters are the ones who removed me from office. And the accusation is that I am preaching the gospel of shareholding. Today, they are the most loudest and noisiest that they're asking for 50%. Is it fair?
Okay,
that's what they're asking. Because they are saying,
mm-hmm.
William Ruto, if you want the votes from ODM, this is irreducible minimum. We want 50% shares of your government. We want the deputy president. Take it or leave it. And they are doing it because they are the only ones who want to back Ruto. Everybody else has left. So they are in a very strong position to demand as much as they can. And that is what happened to us in 2022. Nobody else wanted Ruto except the mountain. So we said, fine, since we are the only guys who want you, what are you giving us in return? And we agreed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Initially, he gave us, then he started slowly backtracking. And then we had a fight because I was a custodian on the mountain interest. The people of the mountain trusted me to be their custodian.
I want us to move this conversation forward. Just understanding the way Kenyan politics works, I would want to know, why do you want to be president? And why should the Kenyan people trust you?
Well, I think I want to be president because I've got great ideas on how we can make this country great. I have experience. I served as deputy president for 2 years, and I have first-hand experience on how Ruto lost it. I know what needs to be done. One, you must listen to the people. You must govern people the way they want to be governed, because essentially a president is an employee, and ordinarily an employee listens to the employer. So the Kenyan people are the employers. So continuously, you must engage them and listen to what they want. Number two, the people of Kenya do not want corruption. I am persuaded that to deal with corruption in this country, it must start from the top. You must have a president who cannot entertain corruption. Once the president says no to corruption, corruption will just end.
How are you planning to do that?
Just by myself saying no to corruption. It's the only thing you need to do, by the way. Once the president says no to corruption, I don't want corruption in this country. And it starts with me as president. I will not get involved in corrupt activities. That's the end of the corruption. That's the formula of finishing corruption in this country. But once the president has dipped his fingers into the public purse, he opens the door for everybody, and he can never stop anybody. Once you call PSs and ministers to give contracts to your cronies, the remaining jobs after they give you your cronies, they give their cronies. If you take money, the way money has been stolen, 10 billion through e-citizen, and I told people e-citizen has been captured by William Ruto. Today, you saw the papers, the Auditor General is saying 10 billion has been stolen. So if 10 billion has been stolen from the top, what stopped the small people also from stealing 1 million, 2 million? The way to deal with corruption in this country, the president must say no to corruption. Today, Rigathi Gachagua left office. Nobody can accuse him of any corrupt activity that he has been involved in this country, because I never got myself involved in corruption. And I'm a very proud leader. And you know the kind of viciousness William Ruto has against me. If I had stolen a shilling, it will be everywhere. I will be in court today.
So you didn't steal nothing?
Nothing. And if I did, I am telling you, I will be in court. News everywhere. That is why they have to look for other nonsense to say that I have stolen from the family. I don't know you have stolen from where. The president should be concerned if I have stolen from the public, because he's a public figure, and his work is to look after public funds, not to pretend families, not to pretend private hospitals like Nairobi Hospital. That is not his business. He should get concerned about the failures in Kenyatta National Hospital. There are no blood banks. The cancer machine is not working. There is no food for the patients. There are no reagents in the laboratory. There is nothing. Then he is saying he is a patron of Nairobi Hospital, a private hospital that is doing well. Who is a patron of Kenyatta National Hospital? He is the one, because it's a public hospital, and he is elected by the people of Kenya.
We were planning to talk about that when you're talking about health. But since we were talking about your presidency, you see, every time you utter and you say things like the people of the mountain, it's about interest, it's about what? Do you know that you alienate a very huge chunk of the country? Because the country thinks you ended up with the second highest office in the country. And when you're in the second highest office in the country, you are basically a heartbeat away from the presidency. It means that at that point, your interest should never be about a community, should never be about a region, should always be about Kenya. Do you understand that? Like the concept of Kenya as a country, where it does not matter if you're Luo, Kikuyu, what? Like right now, if you look at this room, there are a lot of different tribes.
I know.
And when those tribes hear you talking about the mountain being betrayed, they're like, no, we want to hear someone talk about Kenya being betrayed. Because even Kenya has been betrayed. Corruption is still there. The hospitals are not, they don't have medicine. Budgets are inflated everywhere. So when can we hear Rigathi Gachagua talk about Kenya
for Kenya every day
without the mount? Because you see, the mount is always there.
No,
and that's where the problem
it's only
comes.
you ask me about the mountain because you're in the mountain.
Yes.
Ask me about Kenya. Every day. Every day.
That's what,
every day, my brother.
Yes.
E-citizen, I've talked about it for a long time.
Yes.
It does not affect the mountain people. It affects the whole country. When I talk about tea, I was in charge of tea reforms. Tea is not just in the mountain, it's in the whole country. When I talk about dealings with RSF, a rebel group from Sudan that has affected our image as a country. I'm talking about Kenya. When I was fighting drug and substance abuse, I held meetings in Mombasa. I held meetings in Kericho. I held meetings in Meru. I held meetings in Nairobi. It was for the whole country. I served the people of Kenya. And even in my politics today,
Yes,
I am talking about Kenya.
Which I don't dispute. You see, right now, you remember there was the campaign Kufa Dereva Kufa Makanga around the time when you're being impeached, where people were saying that if we have to impeach you, then we have to impeach the president. Why people were saying that? Because they felt like the pair of you had failed the country. At that point, we didn't see Gachagua as the savior. After you left, sasa we ni moja wetu. So of course, sasa tuko, hey, you are our savior. But you see, during all that time, tukikusikiza, it was always about the mountain has been betrayed. It's never been
we were just complaining politically.
Kenya has been betrayed.
We were just complaining politically.
Yes.
And I have told you the mountain has been betrayed. Kenya too has been betrayed.
And that's what we want to hear.
No,
how has Kenya been betrayed?
Kenya has been betrayed. One, William Ruto promised to put money into people's pockets. Instead, he dipped his hand in their pocket. And the little they had, he took it away through unreasonable taxation. And the money that have been taken from people has not been used prudently for the purpose for which it was collected. That is the money that is being used to bribe people in State House, to bribe people in meetings. I've been talking about it. When I have talked about the sale of national assets, Bomas of Kenya, Kenya Pipeline, those are not in the mountain. Those are national institutions. And I've talked about it. I've talked about them. And when I say SHA is not working not just in the mountain. It's not working anywhere, including Bomet and Kericho, where Ruto comes from. I have been talking about it. I was in Bomet the other day, and I talked to the people of Bomet, and I told them they are suffering just like other Kenyans are suffering. 2 days ago, I had a radio talk show called Ramogi with the people of Nyanza. And the presenters there were refusing to allow me to talk about the issues that affect the people of Nyanza. They wanted to discuss Rigathi Gachagua as a person. And I was pleading with them to allow me speak about issues that affect the people of Nyanza region. I have been very clear in my mind that Kenya is bigger than all of us. And I talk for the people of Kenya. I want to be the president of Kenya. I don't want to be the president on the mountain. There is no such position. But I come from somewhere. And those people, like other Kenyans, deserve somebody to talk for them, just like I talk for other regions. But I want to confirm that my agitation, my politics, is in the defense of the Kenyan people, the sovereignty of our country, our image as a country, our territorial integrity, the dignity of the payslip. I have been very vocal that the payslip has been eroded. All workers in public and private sectors have no purchasing power. They have been, more than 40% of their salary have been deducted through taxes that are being used to do politics and extravagance in State House. When Uhuru Kenyatta was president, the budget of State House was 4.5 billion. William Ruto has taken it from 4.5 billion to 17 billion. And that money is for lagis, is for luxury, and for blaming people who come to State House. These are Kenyan issues. I don't think they are issues of the mountain.
Okay. One of the biggest problems the country faces, as he was asking how we've been betrayed as a country, I feel is in the issue of debt. And today, Kenya's debt stands at 12.3 trillion. You want to be president. How would you deal with Kenya's debt?
Well, admittedly, we have to carry over the public debt because it was incurred. Whether through the right decisions or not, is a debt we have to pay. And there is no we can default. We have to pay the debt. But we must make sure that we stop borrowing more unnecessarily by doing what is necessary. For example, the work of a government is to offer services. We don't want governments building houses for people. Those are private matters. You build a house, 1 room, 2 room, 3 bedroom, depending on your need and your capacity to build. What the government should do is build roads, provide water, provide electricity, provide sewage, drainage, provide security. Mwai Kibaki, the greatest president of our time, never did housing as a government program. He never spent government funds to do housing. But the man who did the housing that we enjoy in Nairobi today is Mwai Kibaki. How did he do it? He didn't do it directly. He opened up the bypasses and put good roads, electricity, water, and sewage, and the houses came up on their own.
But the houses are not done with borrowing as it is, because that's our tax.
What happens?
People.
What
So
happens?
how would you deal with
What
it?
happens? Why you have to borrow is you look at your revenue and you decide the things you want to do in a budget. When the revenue is not enough to do the things you have decided to do, you have to borrow so that you get the deficit. So what you do, you stop unnecessary expenditure so that even if you have to borrow, you borrow very little. And the way to do things in this country, in my view, a responsible government should concentrate on education, healthcare, security, road network, clean water, electricity, and communication. The rest of the things, you leave them to the private sector. And an economy is very dynamic. Once you provide the services that are basic, that the people of Kenya require to be provided by their government, you let people do business. If you do remember, during the time of Mwai Kibaki, there was a lot of money available to the Kenyan people to do business. If you remember, if you went to Nairobi near a bank, there were many tents there in a mall, one by Standard Bank, one by Barclays, one by Equity, with some nice looking girls, well dressed, asking you, come, we want you to borrow. Banks were looking for people to lend money to do business. Today, the government is borrowing from the banks, and the banks would like to lend to the government because it's very safe, because there is no risk. So the government is competing with the private sector for whatever money is available for lending. We want the government to borrow less, especially domestic borrowing. Borrow less. Let the money market be available to the private sector. And these are the people who make the economy grow. And Mwai Kibaki perfected that because he was a great economist from the London School of Economics. He allowed the private sector to thrive. And there was less and less government in people's lives. Government's work was to provide infrastructure, security, and a good environment for business to thrive. Now, William Ruto has done housing by government. He has killed the private sector, and it's a huge sector, the real estate sector. Those fellows have now have no job to do. Everything is being done by government. And the government houses are being done to provide an opportunity for people in power to sell cement, to sell steel, to sell tiles to the people who are doing the affordable housing. Therefore, government has stifled the private sector. We must allow the private sector to thrive. That's the way to build a country and to build an economy.
I would just want to understand your plan of paying this debt, because you see, every time a new government comes in, the debt keeps accumulating, but the payment formula is never clear to us as citizens.
Agree.
So what policy do you have in place?
One, Sarah, you do the basic law of survival. When you are in a hole, the first thing you do, you stop digging. Then you figure out how to come out. But when you are in a hole, you cannot continue digging. The first thing you have to do is to stop that borrowing. And then you figure out how to pay what is outstanding. But if you find we have 12 point something outstanding trillion, and you are still borrowing more every day, you will never get out of the debt. So to start with, we stop unnecessary expenditure, opulence, avalanche. You have seen the deputy president has a budget of 450 million for helicopters to fly around the country. What for? You have seen State House has a budget for hospitality for 5 billion, for entertaining people who are coming for delegations. What for? Mwai Kibaki never hosted delegation in State House.
But I would argue you didn't even stop it when you're in office also.
No, I'm just saying we were doing things the way the president wanted them to be done. In fact, he was accusing me of not hosting delegations. I had a very minimal budget myself for hospitality, 70 million only. I have seen the present guy is asking for 400 million for hospitality. President was accusing me of not hosting delegations. By the way, I never used to host delegations. I only used to have IBEC where I would meet the governors. It's a constitutional duty that is in the office of the deputy president. I would meet farmers for tea, for coffee. My meetings were working meetings. I never held a single political delegation, like what Ruto and MKIDDI are doing. They are having delegation from Meru, they're having delegation from Turkana, they're having delegation from Trans Nzoia to come and discuss politics. I want you to check, for the time I was in office, I never held a single political delegation. Anytime I needed to host a political delegation, they came here to Amonyoro at my home, where I entertain them from my private savings, because this is my home. But I never, at the official residence, held a single official delegation for purposes of politics.
Okay, so before he comes in line with that, there was an issue about the DP's budget and the office of the wife's budget. And the Standard had a story where when you're in office, there's a time you needed 1.59 bill for office of the wife, second wife, which I think up to date goes on because there was a story the other day about it. Why do we need the office of the second wife as a country?
Well, one, we had a request of 1.5 billion. A request is a request, and that's what happens in budget. You ask for this, you are not given for what you have asked, you are given what is available. We are given 590 million. The office of the spouse of the deputy president, I found it there. I did not create it. It was there when Ruto was the deputy president for 10 years. So when we came, we found that office had been set up. And when we came with Pastor Dorcas, she identified a program to do. And I think it was a good program. I think the money was well spent. She came up with a program on fighting addiction, to drug abuse and rehabilitation. And through that program, a lot of lives were saved. Very many young boys were assisted. She came up with a program for PWD and for widows, wajane na mayatima. And I think it was a good program. Along the way, William Ruto removed that budget. That program died. Today, all the boys Mama Gachagua had rehabilitated, most of them are back into drinking. It was a good program. I don't think essentially there is anything wrong with having activities of a spouse of a social nature that is not anything the government can address on a daily basis. Things to do with humanity, things to do with empathy, and you cannot say that those issues don't need to be addressed. The issue of the boy child, the issue of drug addiction is a serious issue. And if you are around in this country, it's a serious crisis. And many Kenyans miss mama boys because many people were afraid to talk about their children having drug addiction because of the stigma. But when Mama Gachagua started talking about it, even very senior people, approached her to say, Mama, we have a problem here. We have been shy to acknowledge that our children are having a problem. And as we speak today, the boy child is under siege. Our kids have very many mental challenges. The level of depression in this country. There have been very many suicides by our young people because of peer pressure, because of lack of jobs, because of economic challenges. Somehow, somebody must address those challenges. There must be some Kenyans somewhere who can address that challenge. The issue of kids out in the streets who have been taking hard drugs and they need a motherly attention. Somebody must do it. And I'm very proud that when I was in office for 2 years, my spouse, Pastor Dorcas, filled that gap. And Kenyans were very happy. She was the darling of the Kenyan people. And many people have been asking. Even now, we are doing it on a smaller scale. We don't have a government budget. We have some money for ourselves as individuals. We have many friends who support us. Even now, we want to do some fundraising to try to raise about 100 million for Pastor Dorcas to continue doing what she was doing with the boy child. Try to help those young people to see whether they can get back on their feet and they can live a life of their own.
Okay.
So I'll have to take you back to some of the criticisms that you give Ruto, and you've just talked about it. Affordable housing, yes? You're talking about how this is just a scheme for Ruto to get rich. But if we go back in time,
at the Alpha House. Super excited to be coming to you live today from Wamunyoro, the residence. And of course, on this, we are collaborating. We are not alone. I have none other than the Mraya himself.
Mwafrika Iko Nini.
Bas. And with us, obviously, being in Wamunyoro, you know what we have. Africa, introduce our guest.
Yeah, so vile unacheki leo tuko na Rigiji, tuko na Rigathi Gachagua and vile si wanzaga jo Iko Nini.
Iko Nini.
Yeah.
Iko Nini.
So yeah, I'm hoping we can have a conversation on various things.
Absolutely.
Yes, and yeah, I have to first of all congratulate you. Like, you have a very beautiful home.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is my safe haven, my
Yeah.
rural home. I was born and brought up here.
Mm.
The air is fresh.
Mm.
You are next to the Mount Kenya forest.
Mm.
The mountain is just, you have a beautiful view from here.
Yeah.
Good people around me here. This is where I find my sanity. Anytime I come here, I don't want to go away.
Yeah.
I dread going back to the capital city.
Yes.
I want to stay here because it's quiet. It's nice. People are nice. It's friendly, fresh air.
Yeah.
So welcome to Wamunyoro. And I hope you enjoy your stay here.
When you say you grew up here, what do you mean? Like this is your family's farm or just
Yes,
the area itself?
this is my farm bequeathed to me by my late parents. My parents had two farms, one 7 kilometers away from here, and this one here. So in their old age, they were very organized people. They gave two brothers here, myself and the lead Dr. Wachira. We were given 6 acres here, 3 acres each.
Yes.
And the other farm were given to my other two brothers. So we came here in 1972 when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
I've been here all my life. This is where I belong. And when my days come, I'll be buried here.
Very interesting. Okay, so it's good that you've told us this is where you were brought up and where you grew, just to understand your journey into politics to becoming the DCP party leader today. Did it start here, or what was that journey like?
Well, my family, the late Rigathi Gachagua and the late Mother Kirigo, were politicians in their own right. They were leaders in their own right. They took part in the Mau Mau liberation struggle, fighting for our land and freedom. So I am the child of my father and my father. We are basically freedom fighters. We are leaders, and we have grown in a political family. And my late brother, the late Iko Gachagua, was a member of parliament for this constituency called Matera. He later became the governor of Nyeri before he passed on. I started here as MP for Matera. I later became the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Today, I'm the DCP leader. I'm the next president of the Republic of Kenya next year.
Okay. So I have to go back to the family thing. So you grew up with like a family of four brothers, or you have a sister?
No, we had a great family. My father was polygamous. His first wife, the late Nyagodhi, had
Welcome to MKIDDI Studios.
4 kids. My mother had 9 kids.
Okay.
I'm the 8th born in a family of 9.
Okay.
So we were 13. We have lost many of us, quite a number. From my family, my mother's family, we've lost the late Dr. Wachira and Ridiani, and we are remaining myself from the sons.
Yes.
And 5 daughters.
Okay.
The other family, 2 are dead, 2 are surviving. So we are there, and we thank God for long life. And we love one another. We are a great family. Okay. We are very united and very cohesive.
So when you talk of them being politicians and them being involved in the struggle, like, could you maybe elaborate on that? Because this is to connect with your start as a DO, started out as a DO. So what's the connection?
Well, when I came from the University of Nairobi in 1988, I was a student of political science. I sought for a job. Those days it was good. It's not like now. Once you got admission to the university, your life was sorted.
Yes.
Indeed, I remember once our mother educated you up to Form 6 and you passed, you'll never see her again. The next time you saw her, she was asking for money because it was automatic.
Yeah.
In fact, employers would come to the university to recruit people into employment.
Yeah.
So when I left the university in 1988, because I had studied political science and I had a political mind, I sought for a job as a district officer. That is public administration. And I went to the Public Service Commission and I got the job. And I went to the Kenya Institute of Administration, KIA, which today is called the Kenya School of Government. That's where I did my induction. And I started my job as a young officer at the Ministry of Home Affairs as an assistant secretary to the late Davidson Koguru, who was the Minister for Home Affairs. Later on, I was posted as a district officer to Kirinyaga, Kishogo. I stayed there for several years. Later on, I was recalled to the office of the president. I became a personal assistant to the head of public service, secretary to the cabinet, Prophet Beach, vice chancellor when I was a student at the university. I worked with him until 1993. I went back to the field. I served in Kiambu. I served in Laikipia. I served in Garissa. I served in Turkana. I served in all manner of places. And years later, I became a personal assistant to President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was the Minister for Local Government and